Hey everyone, my name is Jackson and I'm here to share my roller coaster success story with 13 Market Moves and Leo. To give some background, I first met Leo back in January of 2019 when I took the first step and scheduled a coaching session from their website. I bought their courses right after to build up my knowledge on charts and divergences, 13 market moves, all of that, especially since I was pretty new to options at that time. And if you don't have the understanding of what's going on, like if you don't have the knowledge, you'll struggle with everything, right? You'll struggle holding and staying with your positions, understanding what's going on. And actually, this happened to me on Friday, like this last Friday, where I thought I was seeing a reversal of a move, like three, like a double bottom. But Leo mentioned that it was building up to a tornado pattern, but I didn't know what a tornado pattern was because I didn't read the course on CryptoStar. So, that's exactly my point, right? If you don't first build up the knowledge, then yeah, you don't have an understanding. And then you might end up doubting, panicking, backing out of these trades early, all sorts of negative outcomes we want to avoid. Anyhow, I started working with a coach since 2019. I actually can't remember if it was Leo, but I worked with quite a few coaches throughout my time here, on and off over the last 6 years. I don't even really remember my first attempts back then because, they all ended in failure effectively. My accounts were blown pretty quickly. You'll learn that, even though we have high probability setups, sometimes it just don't work out. Maybe some random market announcement, or, in the last year, you guys have probably experienced this. Trump would send a tweet or some random announcement on tariffs, and the market just moves in the other direction. But I kept trying. In the early years, I would go basically all in with all my savings and not see a lot of success, but I didn't really give up. I did have a major success once a few years ago where, I blew my account in a week. The next week, I came back in with like 50K, sent that to like 350K. But yeah, like didn't really work out. But that said, like I just kind of took retrospectives over the years and thought back on like why it didn't work out, right? Like sure, oftentimes the move failed, but I also have faults as a trader, right? We all have something to work on, and it's important to kind of think about what you can also do better, right? So for example, like I knew that I was still too emotionally attached into trading, regardless of how much I kept convincing myself that I wasn't, right? And I started to kind of understand why, right? So here's an example. Like say you have like 250,000 in your Robinhood account in stocks, and that's your whole savings, and then you decided, hey, you're gonna go into 13 market moves. You could sell everything, put all 250,000 in 13 market moves. You could hit 10 mil in a week, right? That's definitely like possible and probably has happened many times with Leo. But imagine that week, right? You have your whole savings in one account and probably a bunch of trades. You're not gonna be able to sleep. You're watching the chart the whole week, probably watching your P&L the whole week, and you might take some impulsive bad actions because of that, right? And if you blow up that 250K, like let's say Trump sends a tweet out and the account's gone, like what do you do now? You have no savings left, right? So the major takeaway that I had reflecting over all these years was to, and I think the coaches did tell me this really early on, but it's really hard to internalize when you're in the moment. But basically, treat this money as money you're willing to lose, right? Find that threshold for yourself. Is it 5,000? Is it 50,000 out of that 250K? Keep the rest in your Robinhood investment, so you can sleep well at night. Treat this as like what percentage position sizing you're willing to put on higher risk. And focus on other things instead, like your execution, right? How quickly can you respond to your coach's messages, right? On selling and buying and updates, and not be worried at all if it goes to zero. And if anything, you can also think of this as, hey, if it does go to zero and you still believe in the system, right, you can try again. Like you're not gonna be like me in the early stages where if I put my whole savings, I have to wait a while to get savings again to try again, right? So once I found such a number for myself, it became much easier to just focus on the moves and the trading and the execution. And when trades don't work out, I don't feel that emotion about it either. And you can focus more on looking at the chart and finding out what happened, right? Like why did the move not work? And when the trades do work, you're also like, great, like let's keep it up, right? It went exactly as planned, let's do it again. Does that on its own stop you from blowing up accounts? No, absolutely not, right? That really has nothing to do with it. I probably have blown up my account like maybe 20 times here, but now that I've taken out the emotions from trading, it's just about learning and getting better and doing better next time and going back in, because I've never given up on 13 market moves. I've seen what these charts can do, right? Like if you see a move 3 executed perfection, especially on a Friday with I think the recent time I was in Japan and there was such a move, and I missed it because I was in Japan. It was like 11 p.m. at night, and Leo was like, "It's a move. It's gonna be a move two today or a move three. I can't remember which one. It's the same." Um, and I just couldn't get into the trade. I was outside, and yeah, that would have been a killer day. Like probably just that day alone, no matter what my account size was, probably would have ended up at a mil. But anyhow, going back to this, my most recent time like trying again with 13 market moves was actually last October. So this has been like a 10-month journey with Leo. I've been trading with Leo since then. We actually hit 500,000 twice earlier this year. And actually both of those positions end up at zero. And there's a lot of like, rescue attempts by the market at that time. And it kind of led to like sharp bounces out of moves. And both of those times, I believe, the chart was getting ready to do like move three, maybe even a few days of drops, and we were like set up. We had all the positions ready, and it was like, it was looking great. And you know how I mentioned earlier that you might have a number where you have no emotions while trading. That could be your 5K, 50K. But when your account grows and reaches 500K, you'll probably feel that pressure again, that doubt again. And I definitely did feel that. And when it fails twice, it really does get to you, right? Like, now you're like, every time your account reaches 500K, you're panicking again. Like, oh shoot, should I just like stop at this point and, forget what move's happening? Let's just like take it easy. And but you can't really let that get to you, right? Like imagine that recent time with 500K, it was a move three that ended up double bottoming and ended up closing green. You can imagine when that happens and you're shorting, you're probably going to lose a lot of your account, right? I was probably losing 2/3 of my account every day because of that. And it did that every day for like the whole week. It did a move three and then it bounced, double bottom, and went back up. So every day you felt like, hey, this is the move three, but no, it ends up bouncing, and for the whole week that was just a roller coaster. But now imagine every move three from now on, right? Regardless of how the chart looks, I'm just doubting and thinking, hey, I should just get off, like sell all my positions at that first initial dip on that move three, right? I would miss the majority of that move if it ends up being manifesting as a true move three, right? Like how would you be able to do 13 market moves correctly if you have like deja vu over specific moves, especially the moves that that pay the most, right? So funnily enough, this Friday it was kind of a similar situation. I was telling Leo all night and day that, hey, this felt like deja vu. My account was at 600, 700,000 at that time, and the beginning of Friday was building up like a move three, and it bounced at basically the exact same time as the previous instance where it then like ended up green. At that time we also had put a lot of money in ES puts, NASDAQ puts, also the majority of money in like LLY, which by the way ended up not working out. But when you all of a sudden have like, all these positions in a move three that you previously had double bounced and you lost it all, you're like panicking, right? Like I was like, hovering over the sell button. Like, what do I do? Do I just sell? Do I just sell and ask for forgiveness later? Beg Leo later, being like, hey, I sold this because I got grilled the last two times. But that's not the right approach to trading, right? If you trade like that, you might get out of it this time, but you're not going to succeed. You're not going to get that move three. And Leo was the one who ultimately calmed me down and told me to hold and explain why this time was different. And it was clear it was different, right? Like, I also knew it was different, but my emotions were getting the better of me. The market was dumping everything, all the earnings, whether they were good or bad. Like if you look at Amazon, right, they were just selling off, right? And, the jobs report came out bad. All the bad catalysts were there, right? It was, I guess Thursday was the end of the month, so people were also selling to rebalance. So technically there was some buying on Friday, but definitely mostly selling, right? But because I was emotional, I was watching my P&L instead of watching the charts. So what I ended up doing, which I think was the smartest decision I could have done at that time, was I told Leo, hey, I'm going to go out, walk my dog, clear my head, right? So I'm not just here staring at the number and, psyching myself out to maybe selling my position or whatnot. So I can focus more on the execution and put my trust in my coach, as I always do. I also couldn't sleep the night before from nervousness because I was like, oh, maybe today's the day I'll actually finally hit a mil. So that also added to the pressure and, the like impulse coming in trying to make me maybe make a bad move. And we did it, right? It took us almost a year this time around, but we did hit that 1 million goal. And it's been, how long? It's been 6 years, but I feel like I've gotten better. We did blow up countless accounts in the process, but it's about persevering and believing in the moves, believing in the system, trusting your coach. Um, yeah. So anyway, to summarize, I put some bullet points on the side to kind of summarize my takeaways, and I think hopefully will come and help a little bit. So first and foremost, you have to find your risk appetite for this, right? You cannot be emotional trading with coaches. You can treat this as like doing your own position sizing across all your investments in life, right? Like you wouldn't put all your money in real estate, all your money in, one stock, I mean, I guess you might, but if you aren't that kind of person and instead you tend to have more balanced portfolios or you buy index funds or something like that, don't sell your entire index fund and put it into here, right? Because even if it does work out, right, during the week that it does work out, like my gosh, you'll be feeling all sorts of pressure and emotions, and you never know, you might end up making a wrong move and prevent it from working out as well. So if you truly believe in the program, get size bigger at first, but you should always like maybe just save some to reload in case the first trades don't work out, or like to make sure that you are calibrated and you're able to stay emotionless, right? And then kind of go in. So for example, this 1 million from this week was actually reached from just a $10,000 reload. So you can argue Leo took me from 10K to 100, to 1 mil, right? 100x, nice. Second of all, like believe in and rely on your coaches, right? Like that's something that I've learned to do much better over time. I would say when I first started, I probably had a lot more questions and maybe didn't take trades immediately because I'll be like, why are we doing this? But now I just like execute first and ask questions later. So even when I sometimes doubt the move and want to sell or not buy something, I always end up executing exactly as Leo tells me to. He tells me to buy something, I buy it. He tells me all in, half my account, I just do it, right? I might ask him questions afterwards, but I do it first because the timing is also very important. Like the move could be already happening, right? Or it is about to happen, right? So every second matters. And when it doesn't work out, I don't really blame him or anything. Like I knew at the time that he was finding the highest probability outcome, right? And I knew what the chart or what the move he's thinking is going to happen, right? And that's the kind of takeaway you have to have, right? Like not all moves will work out, but you have to hopefully reach the same understanding and alignment that, hey, this is what we thought was going to happen. And the worst thing you can do, right, of course, is you get out early, right? Or you start cherry picking the trades that your coach gives you because you don't believe in them, right? So that's why like focus on the execution, believe in your coaches, ask them questions. Leo always answers my questions, and that's really awesome because it really helps me learn what he's thinking about as well. And I mean, the second point, third point are the same. Third point is just focus on the execution and the move, right? And the charts. Because for me, I looked at P&L more times than I like to admit, right? Like Leo mentions in multiple videos, don't look at the P&L, right? Like, why would you look at the P&L? You have to look at the chart, look at the move. You have to find out where your targets are and execute and exit on the targets, right? Like if you're executing based on your P&L, like you're not really, like arguably you're not really trading properly, right? Like if you feel like, hey, Amazon's gonna drop $5 today, but then you leave as soon as you gain 50% on your account, then it's like maybe Amazon only dropped $1 at that time, right? So when my account hit 500K twice, right, I knew this time, like after my account was over 500K, I'll be staring at P&L more times than I like to admit. We all have this moment, but you have to try your best to focus on the bigger picture, focus on the moves. If Leo doesn't tell you to get out, don't get out, right? Stay locked in. If you look at this last week, let me see if I can show this. Wait, how do let me expand this a little bit. Sorry, technical difficulties. Oh, there we go. If you look at this last week, right, we were basically executing from, I'm in West Coast, so market closed at 1. We're executing from open to 1, right, every day. So 6:30 is when the market opens my time, August 1st. We actually also we buy futures, right? We did a lot of ES, NASDAQ, oil trades, and those basically any time of day you should be ready for, right? But if you look at every single day, market close all the way till market open, market close, market open for the whole week. So you really have to stay locked in and stay focused on execution. It's high pressure, of course, to do that for the whole week, especially when the market moves like sporadically, right? Like crazily. But that's why you have a coach, right? Leo really helps stay calm and helped me stay calm and stop me from having impulsive thoughts, and really just, it really is just that easy when you can focus just on the execution. And lastly, it's not a straight road up. You will have losing trades. I've like over the year, I knew this more than anybody, right? Like I've lost a lot throughout this time. As much as you can, don't let it affect you, right? You have to, you know, kind of treat each day as a different day, right? Focus on the day at hand, the move at hand. I was telling Leo a few weeks ago how MSTR was my biggest loser this year, like on the account. It was like significantly more than any other ticker. Like right now it's LLY because we ended up having like 350,000 LLY this week, and it didn't work out in the end. But we also had like 350K in ES and Nasdaq and whatnot, and those did. So again, you will have losing trades. Was I staring at LLY chart the whole time? Probably, but we try to do better in the future. But I was telling Leo how MSTR is my biggest loser on the account, and how it just seems impossible to short, right? Every time we short it, it doesn't work out. We would put like half our account in there, and the half account would just be gone. But look at it now, like you don't even see it here. In fact, MSTR is my third biggest winner on the account now. So imagine how different this would be if I instead told Leo, hey, I have PTSD on MSTR, just like I had PTSD when threes bounce, right? Let's not take MSTR again, right? Then I wouldn't have this gain, like at the probably 250,000, 300,000 gain that MSTR swung from being my highest loser to now my third highest winner, right? So yeah, you will have losing trades, but you have to focus on the move, focus on what's next, right? And not let it get to you. Yeah, so it took us 6 years to finally reach this 1 million goal, and it was a hell of a ride. I do feel like I've matured a lot as a trader and grew a lot alongside Leo and my previous coaches. And at the end of the day, I do feel validated for always believing in 13 market moves. I mean, I've seen it multiple times just looking at charts when I wasn't trading. Those move twos and threes, multi-day drops that, had I been there, been trading, I probably would have made it much sooner. And now we finally did it. So that's just my story. Hope it gives you some hope, and to keep trying and stay with it, believe in your coach,